Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
What do we do to make life better for everybody? We certainly have enough. I mean, we just created the most number of billionaires in the history of the world. You know, we have enough. We could do this, but it's going to take some reimagining of what America is, what our economic system is. What's clear is it's not working and it's not sustainable.
Actually, when our founding fathers set this up, they had the national motto of E Pluribus Unum, out of many one.
Yes.
And we've never achieved that.
No.
There's a long time we didn't even vaguely even strive for that. But we can still strive.
The vision of America, the promise of America, we still have that. We have that promise in our DNA. Someone slipped that in there, which creates a possibility for it, right? That's like the moment we're in right now. It's physics. Things have got to come to a point where there's so much movement. It's chaotic. It's chaotic. It's chaotic. Boom, up. Something new comes out of it. Water to steam. There's no other way to actually change. And that's painful. It's like giving birth. I mean, birth is painful. It's dark. We don't know. It's scary. Will it ever end, you know?
Welcome, everyone. And I could say the same about him, but he keeps making these clips that we're going to play because just the moronic stuff that comes out of Mark's mouth is worth it. Hi, everyone. Patrick here in chair today. Joe is traveling. He'll be remote next couple of days. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining our show today. And I hope to take you on a journey. So, yeah, Mark Ruffalo and the left typically weaponize our language against us all the time. Class is in session today, everyone. But that's what the left does. And they use the language to gaslight us and then lie about what the actual words mean. Like, what does a man mean? What does a woman mean? What does the motto once of our country, E Pluribus Unum, mean? They got the phrasing right. Out of many, one. That is correct. So the translation is correct. But their context, their history, and their understanding of where that terminology gets plugged into in American culture is where they go awry. And that's where the left always goes wrong. They misapply standards to the American way of life to create the narrative that they want to perpetuate in society, saying we've made more millionaires and billionaires out of many one. But we've never achieved that. Have we not? What does that phrase actually mean? E pluribus unum, out of many, one. What did our founding fathers mean by that? When they were shifting through 250 years ago, the world that was around them, knowing that they did not want to partake in a society anymore where they lacked representation, where they had taxes mandated on them without the representation, where they had the quartering acts, where they had to harbor British soldiers in their homes, the lack of free press, the lack of freedom of speech, right? All those things were going on to the original colonists in America, where eventually they said enough's enough. And we created this government through many struggles, through many failures, through many bloodshed, to create a government in which the power rested in the hands of the people. Out of many, one. The government in line with the people. And the people come together as one. Out of many, one. And what that really means is think about the history of America. Think about all those that came here before us. They were diverse. Now, if you discuss by left standards today, they'll say the people that came over to America were not diverse. They were just white people. But within that group of white people, there were different beliefs. Catholic, Protestant, Anglican. You had different nationalities as well. English, German, Dutch. You had different mindsets, different beliefs, okay, that came and settled here in America. But to create one nation where we all live together. And in order for us to live together, there needs to be a common thread that we need to all agree to. And that's what America was founded on. The common belief that this country is a place where anyone will succeed or can succeed if you want. The right to have private property, the right to protect yourself and bear arms from an intrusive government. All those things were written into our Constitution in order to protect people from the government. And now in 2026, the left is preaching the government is the answer. And now they're trying to use phrasing from our history, and even before our history, ancient times, ancient Roman times, to build a false narrative of actually what the meaning is. You know, simply changing the definitions and changing the history. E pluribus unum, out of many, one nation based on beliefs and a common work ethic, right? Just basic principles that led the foundation of America to become the nation that everyone in the world wants to come to. And yet these people on the left are out here talking about, like, we need to change this system. We need to change this system because it's so horrible and oppressive. It is not. This is the greatest system that was ever created. All people from all different walks of life, whether in South America, Africa, Asia, Southeast Asia, Australia, any part of the globe, people want to come to America because here in America, you are the destiny. You create your own destiny. And now they're trying to take that away from us. They're trying to take the greatness of America away. And the greatness of America has nothing to do with what's written on paper. The greatness of America is defined by the spirit that is inside every true-blooded, loving American. That's how we've been able to survive 250 years. And that's the other thing as well. People forget that we had tremendous growing pains before we even got to where we are today, or even before we got our first Constitution, right? I hope people realize, like, the Constitution wasn't written. It was the Declaration of Independence, signifying our desire to be free and saying we will be free from the King of England. Now, everyone knew when they wrote that and put their names on the paper, everyone knew, like, oh yeah, we're going to write this and the King of England is just going to let us go. No, they knew what the repercussions were going to be, and they were willing to die for that. That's the greatness of America. The greatness of America is putting your name on the line when you know death can come for you. That's the courage of America. That's the pride of America. And that's where everyone should have that burning patriotism inside of them. Because our founding fathers were poor, pompous farmers, didn't know a whole lot, didn't have the greatest technology, but they had a desire. They had a will. They had a calling to be free. And they understood that the government needs to be held in check by the people. Because if the government is not held in check by the people will always be subjected to what the government dictates. And the left wants to dominate government because they want to control all aspects of life. And that's where the rubber meets the road here, based on American systems and American values. Here in America, individualism is important. It's strived for. Not everyone in the world has that sense of individualism. And even if you go to China now, China has the free market capitalistic society intertwined into their communist society. So capitalism can work anywhere. It frees people up to be self-motivated self-starters and then push forward with an idea. And sometimes you make it, other times you don't. But the beautiful part of America is you keep trying over and over and over again, because you have the freedom to do that, and you're not dependent on the government to just give you a handout. But now more and more the answer seems to be we want the government to control. We want the government to control our aspects of life. And there's a large fraction of people here in America that want no part of that. We want less government involvement. We actually want more freedom of choice, more freedoms to move about and to discuss topics freely and to pursue our own self-interest and to provide for our families. There are a greater number of Americans that want to live that way. And then there's a small fraction of Americans that don't want to live that way, that just want the government to be their basic daddy and hand them everything because they believe that the government is the problem solver. The government's never the problem solver. The government's always the problem causer, and then they take more money to try and solve the problem. It's a never-ending cycle over and over again. And us as Americans are saying, are the ones that have been aware of this travesty of government that's been going on for at least 30, 40, 50 years. We're saying enough's enough. And the fights online, the fights are in the streets, right? The cultural wars are all being shoved down our throats once again, because at the end of the day, it's important that we stay distracted with all the nonsense here on the ground level while those up top in government continue to enrich themselves and to create more power for themselves, all by making sure we're staying in conflict with one another. And we're able to stay in conflict with one another because simply people don't understand history. People don't understand what it is to be American, and people want to change America. It's amazing. I've never heard throughout history, right? Where people going around saying, "Oh, I think we should change this way. We got to change it. We got to make it better." No, why? Because everyone back in the day for thousands of years were more concerned about safety and survival. Now in 2026, I don't know, since the 1940s, since the end of World War II, and then definitely at the end of the Cold War, there's been a sense of calmness in America, a sense of security in America. And now, because of the safety and calmness, the abundant food supply we had for a long time, people started to create new problems to inject it into our culture in order to basically lead us down into where we are today. That's how it happened. If you really think about why we are the way we are today, it's because we are wealthy. It's because our society was pretty much well in line and well in order. People weren't starving in the streets. And if you look at homeless people today, most homeless people are fat. We got the most obese homeless population in the world. So how hard is life here in America? It's really not that hard. So you concoct all these shenanigans up, transgenderism, equity, critical race theory, right? And you start pitting all people against each other based on their either race, color, their sexual assignment at birth, whatever you're born in. And here we are, just smacking each other all around, all while nothing ever is really getting done. It's just the same thing over and over again. And then you have the left always talking about reimagining things. And think about what it was 6, 7 years ago. Remember we went into COVID and then everything got locked down, and then the big push was, we need to reimagine everything. We need to reimagine education. We need to reimagine policing because all these systems just simply don't work. Well, what happened when they started to reimagine policing and the criminal justice system? We had upticking crime for many years in a row under the Biden regime. And then especially in the blue city and blue states that didn't feel the pressure from the federal government to actually enforce laws, they said, Dilly, I'm going to cut loose too. The systemic oppression has been too much in my community. And look what happened over those 4 years. Crime skyrocketed through the roof. Education didn't improve either. More and more kids now are graduating high school but don't have the ability to read or write. How is that even remotely possible? How can you get a piece of paper from a school saying you have completed public education and you're eligible to graduate when you can't read the piece of paper they're handing you? But that's public education today because we don't want anyone to feel bad. We don't want to put any accountability on someone. It's not the kid's fault that he's 17 years old and can't read, but he's still graduating high school. It's not the parents' fault. It's nobody's fault that kid can't read. That's why we're giving him the diploma and we're sending him out into the world. Now, they don't care what happens to the kid once he gets sent out into the real world. What they care about is, our numbers look good. Our graduation rate is 80%. Doesn't matter that 40% can't read or write. It doesn't matter that 20% can only do math. We're graduating 80%. And we're able to graduate to 80% because we've now taken grading for equity and implemented that all throughout the public school systems in this country, where there is no accountability for grades in the school system. Kids can hand in assignments at the last day of class, receive credit for it, and graduate. Kids cannot hand in assignments and they still receive a passing grade for class. That's what grading for equity does. And if you know anyone in the school system, ask them about it. Ask them about grading for equity and how it actually works. It lowers the bar academically for everybody. Even the top achieving kids fall victim to this because they know why do I have to work hard? And that grading for equity then actually knocks out students' own intrinsic motivation to do well in school because they see that the other kids that aren't doing anything are still receiving credit. So it's just programming kids to think and figure out, why am I going to even try? Or I could do the bare minimum and still get a really good grade because everyone else isn't doing anything. That's the whole purpose for grading for equity, is teaching our kids this social apathy and the need not to work hard or try hard in education. The same reason why they took valedictorians out of schools. They refused to acknowledge academic success in the name of that it harms kids. Really? What kids are getting harmed by acknowledging the other kids that have succeeded academically in school for 4 years? Do you celebrate championships in your schools? Do you celebrate a basketball team winning a conference or state championship in your school? Why? Why would you celebrate that if the other kids that can't participate will feel bad? See, the hypocrisy makes zero sense, but the goal is still the same, to create an uninformed, educated populace that once they get into the real world will not be able to latch on to real jobs because they don't have basic skill set, so they will then need to latch on to the government tit. And then once you latch on to the government tit, you just call government daddy. The more and more people that are on the government dime, on the government tit, calling the government daddy, means the more power and control the government now has. Staying with me so far? Because that's where we're going. And if you haven't picked up on it yet, right, this whole push of reimagining and changing society, changing America for what it is, well, we have the poster child that's being propped up by the left in New York City. That's going to be Mamdani. And if you guys haven't been hearing what Mamdani's been talking about, you should pay close attention to this clip. Let's roll cut 2.
When necessary, we will take aggressive legal action to remove negligent owners and property managers. And for buildings that have suffered chronic neglect, we will work to transfer ownership to responsible stewards. Stewards that include community land trusts, nonprofits, or even the tenants themselves.
So, you tell me what the game plan is. Mamdani is talking about to transfer ownership from landlords to the community, those that are abusing this, that, and the other thing. Okay, where's the framework for his plans? Who's arbitrarily going to decide, I'm just going to take this piece of property from you, who you own it, but because I don't think you're doing a good job with it, I'm going to take it from you, and I'll give it to a nonprofit over here so that if they make money off of it, and I can get a little bit of a kickback, or I'll give it to the tenants here where they don't have to pay for it and they get to live here rent free, and you, sir, are going to lose everything because I don't like how you ran your business. Aren't there laws? Isn't there oversight? Isn't there procedures in place to rectify these types of issues going on within cities for housing units for people? Yes, there are. But Mamdani doesn't seem to really care about that because he's going straight to the throat. I'm going to take that property from you, and then you hear the happy seals in the back that go, oh, yeah, nonprofit again, yeah, nonprofit, yeah, until they come and take their property. See, this is just a framework. This is just a framework. They're talking about privatizing private property. They're talking about taking people's private property and making it their own for government. If that's not socialistic, communist chatter, I don't know what is. But once again, the left needs to reimagine envision what America should look like. And in their world, this is what it looks like. So then what is to stop him from escalating it up another step or two? I don't believe you apologized for your white privilege. I'm taking your house. And don't say, oh, we can't do it. We have the Constitution. Well, it doesn't matter. These people don't respect the Constitution. And then when you get into jurisdictions that don't respect the Constitution, this is really easy to happen. And even if it doesn't happen, he is gaslighting the shit out of his base on purpose to make them believe this is an acceptable answer in the American way of life. So totally disregarding the American judicial system, totally disregarding the Constitution and the right to private property, in the all mass of government, I'm going to seize your shit and give it to someone else. And you can't say nothing about it. That's not American. You cannot take someone's private property just because you want to. That's typically called theft. So I can't wait to see the gamesmanship and the wordsmanship that Mamdani and his crew of criminals that he's appointed in the mayor's office come up with to now start taking private property from landowners, from landlords, my apologies. And you know he'll do it. And it'll be interesting to see who stops him. Oh, excuse me, sorry. But at the heart of it, what he really wants to do is punish successful Americans. And if you listen to Mamdani and you listen to all these other leftist loonies that are in charge, that's their answer to everything, is punishing those that have succeeded in America, take more from them to give to others that aren't succeeding, that aren't working, that are hooked on government programs, that are hooked on SNAP, that are hooked on welfare, that are hooked on government fraud, right? It's so easy to clean all this up if we actually just focus on what it means to be an American, to be honest with you. Instilling the love of country and work ethic into people and realizing that, hey, I'm looking at my phone and yeah, this person's rich. I want to be rich too. Why can't I be rich? Because you haven't done what needed to be done in order to get there yet. And now what we see happening, which is sad in America, is you see the explosion of OnlyFans. You see the explosion of more online porn because you have a lot of these college graduates, specifically women, that cannot find jobs in the workforce. So what do? They wind up pimping their bodies online in OnlyFans. And then you have men who are a lot of perverts out there that will go on their phone, pay for this service, make these women rich and wealthy, all while they're getting addicted to porn, and you just see the degradation of our society continue in a cycle over and over and over again. Prostitution is the oldest business in the world. Women have sold their bodies since the dawn of time because they understand what men are. It's not that hard of a concept to understand here. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of our younger females are doing now. Late teens, early 20s, they're turning to OnlyFans and online porn to make money, because their college degree is not valuable out in the real world because their college sold them a piece of paper that ain't worth shit in the real world. You got a Bachelor of Arts degree. Great. What are you going to go do? You're going to go work at Walbaum's, Home Depot? Where you going, right? A lot of these colleges don't care to actually set up their kids for future employment. They just care that the check keeps rolling in. Oh, you got a chance to graduate. That's great. Here's that piece of paper that you spend $80,000 to $150,000 on. No job. I'm not hooking up with a job. Here's just a piece of paper. Out the door you go. And then you get shoved out into the real world where you got to compete with other college graduates. You got to compete with foreigners that have been brought in here for the workforce. You got to compete with illegals in some cases, right? You just got to compete with other people that should not be here for American jobs. And then what winds up happening is the Americans are the ones that are missing the job. And how do you make money then? The easiest way to make money, because that's what people get plugged into. I want to make quick, easy money. So a lot of young women go onto online porn worlds, create an OnlyFans account, and off to the races they go. And that mentality, the apathy, the quick buck, I refuse to work. I don't want to work for 20 years until I get ahead. I want to get ahead now because I see this person over here being rich. That has infested the mindset of Americans. Where most Americans aren't looking to put that 20-year work in. They want that instant gratification now. And when you're 20, I understand it. I kind of felt the same way in my 20s. I remember being angry and pissy at the world because I want to be rich, but I understand, I didn't deserve to make $80,000 out of jump being a first-year teacher. No, that's not how it worked. Well, teachers deserve to get, you need to learn what it is to work your way up. You need to understand that maybe you need to work 2 or 3 jobs. Not everyone is lucky enough to only have to work 1 job in order to survive. And that's America. That's America. People have the right to decide if I want to work 50 hours. You could also decide if you don't want to work none, but those people also have now abused the system, and our government has allowed this abuse to happen. So we need to do something to rectify the system. But I want you to listen to this conversation hearing what the difference is between a millionaire and a worker work ethic. Play cut 3.
Would you like to live off $7.25
I used
an
to
hour?
work for $4.25 at Haagen-Dazs.
Right.
Then I
And that
went
was
and
a
worked
very different
at
time.
Burger King for $4.75.
And how much do you make
Then
now?
I make millions today. Then
Right,
I
and
worked
that's
at
why
Bob's
you like
Big Boy.
capitalism, because we're not
No,
all making
but
that.
But
and
the
that's
difference
my point.
is, but
a
the difference
millionaire is
between
critiquing
the
people in
no,
poverty
the
and
difference,
saying
my
you should
hope,
work harder. You should work. You know, you can be me.
My
We can't
hope,
all be.
My hope is that you believe you can change and improve. That you believe you can upgrade yourself. That's my
It's
belief.
very, and you know what? That's what rich people like you want to keep telling us.
But
you can be just like me. Do you want to be like me? If you work hard enough,
I'm not
you can
saying
be like
that.
me.
I
It's
don't.
not
I don't.
very
It's
realistic.
actually you wouldn't be able to be like me because
You're
you wouldn't
talking
work that
down to
hard.
people like
Would
us.
you work that hard?
You don't.
Would you,
I'm not going to tell you. I don't have to answer
would
that.
You, if you don't,
I don't
choose
have to measure my I don't have to measure my work ethic to be worthy.
You don't have to. Then you can't be upset for others who do so.
That's very powerful, because all that's being discussed within 45, 50 seconds, and there's a lot being said there. And it shows you the mindset of being successful and being captive to the system. And that lady is completely captive to the system. She's not willing to hear you could better yourself, you could work your way up. She wants that instant gratification now, claiming he's a millionaire, but she's totally dismissing the fact that he worked all these minuscule jobs before he worked his way up the ladder. And that's how it works predominantly here in America, is you got to work your way up the ladder. And a lot of it has to do with connections, having the right idea. Having a good work ethic is mainly one of them, though. Showing up every day to work with a good face on, putting a good foot forward, is one of the easiest ways to start moving ahead in society. It may not move ahead in 2 to 3 weeks. It may be 2 to 3 years, but eventually you work your way up. Unless DEI is in your corporation, and then that shit don't matter. Then whoever gets a point, ooh, we're just gonna spin the wheel. Got it, okay, Jamal can get moved up now. Okay, because that's what DEI does. But it's a great conversation, great 52-minute clips of just hearing the different views and the unwillingness for her to even listen to him, because she knows she can make a better choice. She knows she can do better. And that also requires sacrifice. And that's the one thing a lot of Americans have forgotten to do, is to sacrifice, to give up on getting that food out, or giving up on buying that extra, or having to work that extra time to, make a little extra money. Like, Americans have forgotten how to sacrifice. And instead of sacrificing and having a challenge and overcoming that challenge in front of you, instead now the majority of people on the left just say government can handle that. And then when you allow government to constantly keep handling problems, government becomes so encompassing and so big that it just swallows the whole system. And we've seen this over history. And that's why our founding fathers wanted a way to prevent government from becoming so big. But the societal pressures and the outside influences now have created a dystopian society that our founding fathers would look at and probably keel over from seeing, like, wow, this is what they become. We handed them to the Lamborghini and then they crashed it into the wall. Yeah, I could see a lot of our founding fathers just like, what is going on down there? This is not, we went off the rails. We went off the rails a while ago. This is not how we were destined to be. But the beauty of this country is we can always change it to what we want it to be. And that's going to require a lot more work, a lot more involvement, a lot of grassroots, a lot of community building. But this country can return back to its original founding principles. It's going to take a lot. But it doesn't mean it can't be done. And then with the government looking for people to get hooked on, take a look at this post. 78% of single-parent families are headed by women. In the U.S., 12.4 million single-parent households are led by women. Only 3.5 million by men. The source is the U.S. Census. So 78% of single-parent families are headed by women. I was born in a single-mom household. It wasn't the easiest. My mother tried her hardest. She did not have the capacity to teach me everything I needed to know. And I was too young not to know what I didn't need to know growing up. So now that I have a son and I am a nuclear family, husband and wife in the house with the child, there is an extremely important dynamic that goes on between a mother and a father while raising a child. There's a dynamic, and it's real, and it's important with the development of a child. But the governments want to do away with nuclear families because if you get the family hooked on social benefits, that means I control the family. Right? It all goes back to the encompassing of power and the left talking about that we need to re-envision everything. We don't need to re-envision anything. We need to go back to the way it was, where children had a mother and father in the household, where dads weren't running around and having different kids with different women, and women weren't having different kids with different men. We need to get that stuff out of control, get that stuff under control in society. Because breaking down the nuclear family, you have millions of kids that are lost. That's the simple truth. Millions of kids are lost because they do not have a parental father figure in their house. And it's the dad's fault just as much as it's the mother's fault. It's both parents' fault for this. Period. There's no other blame to go around. You choose to have sex with someone, you have a kid, it is your responsibility to raise that kid. Now, if you don't want to have a kid, maybe you should not do those things that will put you in a position to have a kid. Or maybe you should take some preventative measures to make sure you don't have a kid if you're not financially ready. But what we have is an epidemic of single mothers in America, and a decent amount of these single mothers get hooked on the subsidy system. Okay, they get hooked on welfare. Over 53% of all SNAP households with children are headed by a single mom. So over 50% of single moms are on welfare. And that number, the 78%, I think it was 12 million. So you're looking at over 6 million moms that are on welfare. That is a problem. That's a problem for the child, not having a father in his life. It's also a problem for the American financial system and the American taxpayer because we need to subsidize that. It's also a problem for the woman because she actually is taken on the head of the house where she shouldn't need to. And then the child is just left on its own, growing off of what the government figures out it needs to grow up. Out of many, one. That's not what our founding fathers envisioned. Okay, when our founding fathers envisioned breaking away from England, right, they envisioned of kind of a society based on Christian principles, because that was the predominant religion in America at that time. And in that is the nuclear family, husband, wife, child. So to fast forward by 250 years and say that, you know, there's a 12 million single moms on welfare. First off, our founding fathers, whoa, what's welfare? What is that? Oh, the government pay. Like, that is not something our founding fathers ever envisioned. But that's what our system has evolved into over time and societal pressures to make life easier for the people and for government to, you know, gain more power and control. So yeah, single moms in the household. So raising a child becomes harder. Providing for that child becomes harder. Creating a sustainable way of life for that child becomes harder. Okay, I can't imagine being a single parent on my own. That would be impossible. I am so grateful and thankful that I have my wife that honestly does 99% of the stuff outside the house. In the house. I'm at the house Monday through Friday, 10, 11 hours. She holds it down. And I am totally appreciative and supportive of her and just everything she does. And we have a great 4-year-old boy who's just crushing everything off the charts. And all that has to do with her. And she's able to take on that more at home because I'm working here now, right? So we finally reached a balance where it's kind of working at our house. But not everyone has that. Not every child has their mom and dad hug and kiss them goodnight. That's sad to me. I remember going to bed when I was a child not having my dad around. It sucks. It's sad. And I wish more parents would think about what that child is going to experience with them not being there. I really wish more parents would consider that instead of just being selfish and looking for the next thing. But that tells you the character of people. A lot of the character of people in our today's society. I want you to check this clip out. This is a man talking about basically single women in society. Let's play it.
It goes down to feminism, which is, in my opinion, a result of this movement called progressivism in America, which has been here since the beginning of our time. Feminism is very clear. These are women who want it their way, but they don't want to accept the consequences. So women want to be boss babes. They want to get their money. They want to get their PhD, and they don't need a man to do it. And when all that happens, what ends up happening in the end? They don't have a man. And then they celebrate the idea of, wait a minute, I don't need a man, but I'll have a kid out of wedlock. That'll be easier than getting married. Who the hell taught them that idea? What person in their right mind believes raising a child as a single parent is better than getting married? It's outrageous. And I do love my mother.
So true. So true. And I love my mother too. I love my mother too. My mother hasn't made the best choices in her life, but at the end of the day, I still love her. She brought me into this world. She got me through a lot of tough times. She got us through a lot of tough times. So yeah, kudos to her. Great job. Not every mom every mom does that. I saw a video recently of a mom holding her 3-year-old son, showing that kid how to smoke a blunt. Like, that is crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy to me. But there are parents out there like that. And there are parents out there like that that honestly don't want to be parents. And there are people out there that don't care if they're a parent. And they'll invite whoever, whatever, into their house around their kids and not really care what impact that's leaving on the child in front of them. Yeah, that's progressivism. When you have more and more women having children out of wedlock, that's progressivism. And yeah, what that guy said mostly was on par, I believe. The strong, independent academic women that say, I don't need no man. But you also have the unintelligent, dependent women on the government that are having 2 or 3 kids with 2 or 3 different men as well. So yeah, that's also a problem. And then at the end of all of it, the American taxpayer, you, me, myself, you, me, we're the ones footing the bills for these single parents. Even though we're the ones that are doing it right by our family, we still got to supplement their income because they choose to live their life that way. But because they make those choices, we have to supplement it for them. I believe that is completely not, it's not okay anymore. It's really not okay anymore. Especially when you have 3 or 4 different kids by multiple partners. Like, it's not okay just to be on the government dime. Collect, collect, collect. No, you need to go do something different. You need to go be a productive member of society. You need to contribute instead of take. But that is progressivism. That's where it's led us. To now in 2026, we have more kids being born out of wedlock today than we did 20, 30, 50 years ago. Look it up. It's all true. I think we're close to around 40% of kids to this day and age are born to single-parent households. That's crazy. That's an extraordinarily large number. So does that number grow another couple percentage points in the next 5, 10 years? What does that look like? And then what's the societal effects of more and more kids being born out of wedlock without having strong male figures in the household to discipline? Okay, mom's discipline, but it's different when dad does it. And that's just the reality. That's the truth of it. I'll tell you what you get. You get the teen takeovers. We talked about it recently, but you get these swarms of children that do not have a moral code built into them because they were not raised by their parents. They're a product of the school system. They are a product of the streets. This is what happens with the teen takeovers at the beaches, at the malls. You get violence, you get people getting hurt because these teenagers have not been taught right and wrong. They have not been held accountable for their behaviors, if not ever. So they think whatever they do is all well and good. And you know what? I can do this because this nation sucks. Because that's what they're taught in the school system, that this nation is systemically oppressive and racist towards me. So I do have the right to act out. And that's the problem within the school system, is that the school system is there perpetuating these lies to kids, gaslighting these kids, and setting these kids up for failure. That's what the school system's doing. And while the school system's doing all that, they're also locking parents out, trying to hide gender transitions from kids, hiding gender transitions from parents, hiding what bathroom kids use to their parents. Tell me what states do this, by the way, and what cities? That's right. the blue ones, the ones that want you to reimagine America, the ones that lie about what out of many one means, the ones that have a false understanding of history, the ones that weaponize language against us, those people. Well, take a look at J.S. Levin from America First Legal giving her take on the school system and children.
These are my kids. Like, you're trying to take my kids. You're basically saying, school door opens, bye-bye, mom, bye-bye, dad, we're in charge. And when they get them, kids are at school how many hours in a day versus when they're home, even if they're like home for dinner and whatever. The school has your kids for the majority of their day in and day out. So this is like, for them, this is like the perfect environment to take their minds and to say, there goes the value system, because you don't have this nuclear family to balance out these crazy thoughts.
And once again, the nuclear family balances out the child, because the conversations you could have at home with your family can undo the damage that's being done in the school system Monday through Friday, 8 to 3, 8 to 4, 5 days a week. But if you don't have that family footing at the house, you don't have a chance to undo the damage that's being done in the school systems through indoctrination, through restorative practices, through social activism, through false history and narratives being taught to kids, through the introduction of trans into the school system, the LGBTQ movement in the school system. You can't fight against it. And that's what the school system is doing to this slew of millions and millions and millions of kids that go through it every year. And they know they're not going to catch them all, but they're trying to catch 15 to 20% every year. I guarantee it, because those numbers add up over time, right? They're not trying to win this battle all in one, right? It is a long march. Progression, 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 progression. That's why so many people are opting out of the school system as well. Around 20%, I think, around the country is opting out of the public education system, because it is just lunacy. Because the public school system believes they have the right to dictate how they raise your child. It's crazy what the public school system believes they have the right to do. They believe that they have the right to hide information from parents about their kid. And this is what really blows my mind, that there are school districts all over the place that are hiding social transitioning from parents that kids are doing at school, you know, changing their pronoun or their name. I don't want to use my dead name anymore, so I'm going to be Sammy today. And then they don't tell the parents what's going on. But yet, when I was a dean in school, I had to call a parent anytime I had a kid out of class. So I don't understand why this shit is allowed and actually approved by school boards and school districts to hide things from parents. As a dean, I had to call a parent if I made a kid miss 5 minutes of class. But as a school, I don't need to tell a parent that Sally's in the boys' bathroom, or John's showing up in a furry costume today, or Claude asked for a kitty box in the corner because he showed up with cat ears. No, all that stuff needs to get hidden. But if you call Johnny out for 5 minutes, though, you gotta call him. You gotta call mom. You gotta let him know. Gotta let him know they missed class. Yeah, but John also wants to use the litter box in the classroom. No, they don't need to know that. Oh, got you. And that's the mentality of it, right? And parents are tired of it. And conservative teachers in the school systems are tired of it as well. But the problem is, if you're a conservative in a lefty loony town, you can't say shit. They'll fire you. Plain and simple. You can't say anything. Don't question anything, because school districts believe that anything that comes out of your mouth between the time of your employment, from the time you work to the time you leave, I own you. So if you say something I don't like, I will fire you. And if you don't believe that, just listen to the oral arguments from the 10th Circuit on Cherry Creek, and they actually admit it. They actually admit it, that I will fire you if I don't like what you say. It's against our school district's best interests. You can't compartmentalize loving America and work with children. That's what the Cherry Creek School District believes. That's what every school district that preaches equity believes. That's what happens to conservative teachers in the public school system if you live in a blue city, blue state. Total government control. Do they want diversity? I don't think so. They don't want diversity of thought. They only want diversity when it means color or sexual orientation, which is funny to me because those things don't mean anything about what you are as a person. So what that means to me is that these equity folks all believe people of the same color, sex, all that, they all think people of those creeds all think the same. They lock all people into standardized boxes. The ones that tell you to be inclusive and everyone has a story actually lock you into actual boxes, and if you don't fit that conformity box, we kill you or cancel you. That's the reimagining of America. Don't let anyone fool you. Don't let Mark Ruffalo talk about, oh, we need to imagine America with the SSRI eyes. We need to reimagine America. No, we don't. We just need to reimagine America without you retards in it, and we'll be fine. That's what actually needs to happen, is the removal of retards from America, and America will be self-sufficient, baby. We'll be off and running like nobody's business. But that's what the left does, is they just throw these gaslighting slogans out there and off to the races, not understanding the context, the history, the nature of what actually those terms mean. Once again, out of many, one was the belief of bringing everyone into this country from all different backgrounds into one country. But what do you think is needed in order for something like that to happen? To have different groups of people to come together to live in one country. You need to have a shared culture. You need to have shared beliefs. You need to have a shared language. And slowly over America's soon-to-be 250th anniversary, all that's been taken away. We don't have a unifying language. We don't have a unifying culture. And we don't have borders. Well, borders are coming back. We didn't have borders for a long time, right? But because of all that, our fabric of American culture got ripped apart. Where if you believe America is the greatest country ever, you're considered a racist. How is that even possible? How is that even possible that you live in America, you believe it is the greatest country ever founded, and then those words are construed as you being a racist? That's how far we have gone, and that is what the left has done to us. And I'm telling you now, more and more people need to actually start standing up and speaking it out, because courage is contagious. My wife got on a kick over the past year buying me all these different shirts because she knew what was going on. She knew I was in a dark spot. She knew I was not doing well mentally. She understood that. She knew what was going on. And to her credit, she was beyond patient with me. She is still beyond patient with me. But we saw some dark times over that year plus when I didn't have a real job. And my wife had my back the whole way through. And she still does. That's why the nuclear family is so important. Because the family picks you up when you're down. The family keeps you. Family protects each other. You don't need the government. You need the family. That's important. It gives grounding, it gives principles, it gives a code. Right? And if you think about what we talked about last week and the formation of European and white culture, right? It was about the combination of warrior, religion, and nation, I believe, was the bottom one. Right? It was a combination of all three together that created us. And having this type of society that we finally have that is balanced out, that was normal for the most part until hell was unleashed on our society. I say specifically starting with the Obama administration. That one quote, man, the racism is in the DNA of America, is by far the most unbecoming quote of a president, I'd say. The fact that he had the balls to stand up there at that podium, I remember it because I believe it was the Trayvon Martin time. But to stand up there at the presidential podium and to say that, to gaslight the country, I believe that was the turning point in American society. I believe that was the turning point of where we were unified as a country post 9/11 to where we are today. That press conference. Him spewing that hatred and that lie. But you know what that hatred and lie did? It allowed the real racists and allowed those that really hated America to latch onto that and unleash hell on the American society. And Obama was the reason that happened. The first black president elected by white liberals then boomerangs around and says racism's in the DNA of America. Can anyone explain to me how that's remotely possible if he got elected president by a majority white country, or that the majority white country believed that man was elected? No. And he was never held accountable for that, and that was allowed to spew and spray and catch and fan the flames of hate. Here we are in 2026, and that cat is nowhere near going back into the bag. But yeah, so how out of many do we become one? Well, we need to get back to our unifying culture and the belief that America is the greatest country ever founded. And if you can't rally around that, I don't know what else you could possibly rally around for America at the basic primal level. Because everything else that America has to offer comes from that one thing, that we are the greatest country ever founded. And if we weren't the greatest country ever founded, please show me the migration numbers to every other foreign country in the world and show me what country takes in more foreigners than we do. Show me what nation gives more foreign money to other nations. Show me. You can't. We lead in both categories because we are the greatest. But we are also under attack. And just because you've been here for 250 years doesn't mean we're going to be here for another 250 years. Right? We all need to be aware. We need to be active. We need to be vocal. We need to get involved, meaning running for local school board, running for local office, calling up the local radio show and getting your voice out there from time to time just to stir it up a little bit. Those are all things Americans can do to get into this fight. But we're gonna go take a break, and we come back. We're gonna talk a little bit more about our society here. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns. We keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Widespread fraud against our benefits programs. Our benefits programs and our whole society was designed for a high-trust people. The American people rightly expect that their fellow citizens will deal with them and with the government honestly and fairly. That's why for up until the last decade or so, shelves in our grocery stores and our pharmacies were open and readily accessible. We weren't accustomed to seeing security guards outside of banks or jewelry stores. We didn't have to worry about organized retail theft or industrial scale scammers of the type you all protect your citizens from every day, nor did we have to worry about piratical fraudsters raiding our benefits program. But sadly, that is no longer true. It's become clear that huge groups of people in this country are taking advantage of our longstanding culture of trust to enrich themselves at the expense of the American people. I think a brief example would be illustrative. Just this weekend, I was shopping at a big home improvement store to buy a drill to do some home improvement. And I had to hit a call button and wait 15 minutes for a sales associate to come unlock a steel cage and a steel padlock to get access to a drill. It's why deodorant is now locked behind plastic windows at pharmacies. It's why security guards are seen at every store in America. The social trust has evaporated and people are taking advantage of it, and the same is true with our federal benefits programs. Huge segments of the population have decided to take advantage of this generosity and trust of American citizens through deception and fraud, and billions of dollars each year leave our programs into the hands of pirates, fraudsters, scammers, and gangs who treat American generosity as little more than a get-quick-rich scheme.
Yeah, we live in a high-trust society. We've always had. Because when our society was being built, we believed the people living in this country shared the same values and same beliefs. Therefore, we were trustworthy. Well, that has changed. Now, when did it change? Even in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, was it still a high-trust society? Yeah. When did it change? I personally believe it started after the 50s and 60s, where we started to move away from the high-trust society, and that's where the communist Marxist teaching started to creep in our society in the college levels. Because the old communists fled Eastern Europe during the 1930s and 40s, got assigned jobs or got appointed jobs by our government in the school systems, and they were then unleashed communism within the schools in the 40s, 50s. And that's why you had the 60s, the hippies. That just didn't come out of nowhere. That was a product of the school system being hijacked by Eastern Europeans that were brought in from World War II. That's what happened, right? And then that's when our society really began to change and societal trust started to go away. Even today, I drive around out here in Colorado, we have big power stations surrounded by just a chain link fence. You could easily drive a car through that chain link fence and blow up these transformers that will take out power for miles. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But when we were building those, the thought never was our own people are going to attack these power. Like, that was never a thought process. But now it is. Domestic terrorism is a thought process. We have foreigners that come into this country that hate this country, that want to do damage to this country. I've never seen anything like that before. What sane individuals move to a foreign country in order to destroy it or to take it over from within? What sane individuals do this? None. But we here in America know this is happening, and we facilitate it. Our government facilitates the bringing in of people that hate this country into our country. Oh, no, we're not racist. We're not racist. We're bringing them in. Oh, they hate us? 200,000 more, please. Just to prove we're not racist. Bring them in, bring them in, bring them in. And look what happens. Our high trust society goes to shit. Goes to shit. Summer of Love, 2020, the riots, the burning buildings that were mostly peaceful. What did that wind up leading to? More looting, more theft, more stealing. The lack of law enforcement arresting shoplifters. What did that lead to? Led to the locking up the power drills behind the grates. Led to the locking of deodorant up at the store. Our high trust society got withered away because of the teachings of the communist school system and of the importation of people that don't want to be here for the good reasons. People that wanted to come here to hurt this country, to take from this country, not to actually give to this country. That's how we've gotten away from our high trust society, because being an American and believing in American culture and value has been eliminated. Nah, yo, that's mine. I gotta have that. What? Illegals need new cell phones as soon as they come across the border. Why? Why? Oh, because you like doing them. Oh, we do the right thing all the time. Got it. Yeah. But we've created this high trust society, and then when you bring people in that don't want to play by the rules or don't want to be part of a trustworthy society, this is what you get. The fraud is through the roof in America, right? California, Minneapolis, Colorado, New York, every state has its own grift going on. Has its own grift going on. And I want you to hear President Trump talk about it now, about what he's hearing about the fraud that's being uncovered and what possibly is to come.
Couple of very strong women too. But I was watching that last night. I said, I'm proud of you guys. In 2 months, we've exposed tens of billions of dollars of defrauded taxpayer money, prosecuted numerous fraudsters, Todd, and stopped billions of suspicious payments, very suspicious. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet? What do you see? I'm getting reports from Todd, from JD. I've never seen anything like it. The kind of, just hundreds of billions of dollars was stolen. And no other administration would do what we're doing. Just let it go. Everybody was getting rich. And I think we have a chance to save Social Security without doing anything to it by just the numbers of fraudulent.
So everyone keeps saying there's billions and billions of dollars. How long has the fraud been going on? Where are the major arrests happening? And I'm not talking about these immigrants that, oh, I'm just going to get lucky and figure out how to set up the system. No one believes that these immigrants set the system up on their own. We need to get higher arrests all the way up the chain. If that includes Ilhan Omar in Minneapolis, let's cuff her up. If that includes Obama, let's go. Enough is enough. We want the arrests. But Trump is also talking about how they've had billions and billions of dollars saved. I would love to see an itemized spreadsheet out of the government. I want to see exactly how many billions of dollars in all these different NGOs or these different groups, how many billions of dollars were saved, who was responsible for facilitating the fraud, and the arrest made. You could get that together in a five-cell spreadsheet. I want to see that. I think the American people deserve to see that. The fact that you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars, when do we get that back? When do the American tax people get the rebate check for all their tax money that's been taken and defrauded? When does that happen? Does it ever happen? No one's talking about that. No one's talking about where the money's going or how it's being recouped and where is it going. Trump's talking about, oh, we may not have to touch Social Security. I heard Stephen Miller recently say, oh, we may be able to balance our entire federal budget if we get rid of the fraud. Let's see the actual numbers. I want to see how bad the fraud actually is. And then I want to see those that actually allowed the facilitation of the fraud to occur to be arrested as well. Because you are, in fact, defrauding the American people. And you are actually making our lives harder. Because you tax us and then you defraud us. How the hell can we ever possibly get ahead here in America? And yet you want to trust the government, the one that has enabled this fraud, to take over the economic system in America so that everyone's treated fairly? Are you out of your minds? Are you that shot? Are you that stupid that you believe that is an appropriate solution to the answer of how to go forward in America? It's the opposite. It's called government get out of the way, let people go to work, let people drive, let people be innovative, and get those that don't belong here out of the way. Because all that does is clog up opportunities for the Americans that are here, that deserve the opportunities, because being born an American is a privilege. I'll tell you that. Being born in America is a privilege. That's why so many illegal aliens come over to America and then have their kids here. Why do they do that? Why don't they stay in their home country and have their children where they are? Because they know, we all know, that America offers the better path forward
for everybody, regardless of race. But yet the left is the one that tells you, this country is the systemic racists. The lies and the hypocrisy are out of control from the left. You have millions of illegal immigrants come over to this country year after year, 7, 8, 9 months pregnant, give birth immediately once they come over. And now that kid's an American citizen, that parent is protected from deportation. And now both of them are attached onto the government subsidies that we pay for. Enough is enough. We have to pay for it and then be told we're racist all in the same. When are people going to wake up and say enough is enough? I'll tell you when. You're going to say enough's enough when this person walks into the bathroom with your daughter. Let's play cut 3.
Oltmann Rec Center does not wants to trespass you from the location, okay?
So have they given an explanation for why?
This video obtained by 7 News after a public records request to Fairfax County takes place at the Oakmont Rec Center in Oakton on November 16th. Richard Cox, who now faces more than 20 charges in Arlington, including indecent liberties with a child under 15 and indecent exposure, was in Oakton using the women's locker room. Someone at the facility called police because the county had decided to ban Cox after finding out he was a sex offender. Cox argued about that.
My civil rights as a transgender person allows me to use a public facility, including the restrooms or changing rooms that identify with my gender. So them pulling up my information on the sex offender registry and using it to stop me from exercising my civil rights as a transgender person is a criminal misuse of the sex offender registry.
Although Cox said he's a transgender female, most court documents identify him as male, and women we've spoken with and read statements from in court records allege he would go into various women's locker rooms and expose his private parts, sometimes with kids around. A police report obtained by 7 News says one woman told police she saw him naked, then saw him still in the locker room naked 20 minutes later. The video indicates, per its policy, the Fairfax County Park Authority allowed Cox to use the women's locker room until
we recently found out he is a sex offender.
The county says its park authority started a process to ban Cox for that on November 15th. But on the 16th,
how is he able to check in if he's not allowed to be in?
Cox was still allowed to scan in and walk down into the women's locker room. County police sound frustrated in a conversation with Sarah Baldwin, the Fairfax County Park Authority Deputy Director.
There's so much confusion in there that it's unreal. Okay, that's why I'm here. You all allowed them to come onto the property. He scanned like everybody else and was onto the property. He was never informed that he's been trespassed.
Right, that's what we're trying to do right now.
Hold on.
I've been working with the police for the last 24 hours on this, and this was the plan. Okay. For him to come in and you trespass him.
By trespass him, Baldwin means ban him. She later joins police to tell Cox that.
And letting you know that you are banned from all rec centers in Fairfax County.
In part because Cox hadn't knowingly trespassed that day, police eventually said there was no evidence of a criminal violation.
Do you understand the lunacy of that news clip? That this thing believes he can walk around the women's locker room, exposing himself naked to women and children, and we're all supposed to be okay with that. And then he plays the victim on top of all that. He plays the victim because that's what the left does, and the victim mentality, the victim mentality that they instill on their people is ever present all the time. If you ever talk to someone on the left, they are a victim of something. But yet he is walking around, his penis hanging out in a female locker room with children in there. And we're all supposed to accept that delusion in front of our wives, in front of our children in the women's locker room. You are out of your mind. When I go to a place with my family, I literally stand outside the women's restroom. Ask my wife. If my wife goes into the bathroom with my child, I stand outside that women's restroom and I watch who walks in there. I don't care. If you're questionable, me and you are going to have a conversation. And most of them are not questionable. You know who they are when you see them. They got the 5 o'clock shadows. They have the bulge in their pants still, even though they pretend they don't have a penis. They do. They got the goatees. They got the deep voice. They got the Adam's apple. They still don't get rid of that, right? That's still in there. Yeah, so when we go out in public, we go to games, we go to museums, we go out to eat, and my wife takes my kid, I got eyes on that bathroom. It shouldn't be that way, but it is, because we're not in a high trust, we can't be in a high trust society because you got mentally ill people that are allowed to walk around like this and behave this way. And then people wonder why violence against trans people, it's up. It's up because shit like this happens and it needs to be corrected on site. Just like if you're at a bar and you're drunk and a guy hooks up with a tranny, you may not know. But then you figure out a little bit later that, oh, that is a tranny. Something happens. Something happens. Something's going to happen. Because men don't like this. Men don't like feeling their wives or children are victims in bathrooms. Men don't like being misled out in public. So yeah, there will be acts of violence that occur because society is correcting itself. That's the reality. If our government officials aren't going to do it, the people will. And that's why that happens, because people, I have no recourse. My wife just got flashed in the restroom by a dude, and you're telling me that dude, no, he doesn't. I'm going to kick the shit out of him. That shouldn't be happening anywhere. But yet, this happens in left cities and left states all over the time. In California right now, you got a trans athlete winning the women's high school track competition, taking medals away from actual females. And like I was saying before we played that clip, it takes actually getting hit in the face with the dick before you realize those policies are wrong. So leftists that have children that compete in sports, especially leftists that have female athletes, it's going to take a male spiking a volleyball on your daughter's head for you to realize it's wrong. It's going to take your daughter, unfortunately, having to see a male naked in the female restroom or female locker room. It's going to take your daughter being violated by one of these people before you wake up, and it shouldn't. And I feel awful if that does happen. Everyone should know better, especially if you're a smart, strong woman. When you were 10, 11 years old, did you want a man with a hairy chest walking around your locker room with his dick hanging out, with his penis hanging out? No, you wouldn't. So why do you make it normal for your daughters to have to deal with that? Because you're sick in the head and you don't have principles. You have sold yourself out to the far left and the radical side, and you are sacrificing your children on the altar of radicalism. That's what you're doing. And then just to show you how far the left keeps going and how divisive they are with us, and the fact that they're willing to use our language and our laws always against us, right? Isn't that amazing how it works, right? You got to take God out of schools, but we can have Ramadan in schools. We got to make sure we take the Christian element out while supplanting it in with the Islamic element, because we need to make those kids feel inclusive, all while making our Christian brothers and sisters at school feel excluded. But take a look at what California Democrats are introducing that's going to take someone's legal status into sentencing. Play cut 4.
California State Assembly member Carl DeMaio here with yet another bad bill alert from Sacramento. This one would give preferential sentencing treatment to illegal immigrants. In other words, citizens would be judged harsher than people here illegally. It's Assembly Bill 2669, and you should Take a look at it, because it says when a prosecutor is deciding whether or how much to charge an illegal immigrant, that they are now going to be required to take into account the possible impacts it might have on the illegal immigrant if they're charged with the crime as it relates to their ability to stay in this country. Insane. It's a double standard on justice. You do the crime, you do the time. People should be judged equally. And this is so offensive because it literally punishes citizens in a harsher way than people here illegally. Contact your legislator and say justice should be blind, equal protection and punishment under the law. Say no to Assembly Bill 2669.
There you go. But the Democrats are making it well known there are two standards of law. There's two standards of justice every which way. There's a standard of justice for the white population, the white Christian population, and everyone else over here. That's all it is. And if you didn't catch that, listen to what this is doing. It makes prosecutors consider avoiding adverse immigration consequences like deportation as one factor in plea negotiations. It also argues that defense counsel to advise non-citizen defendants about immigration and consequences. It requires prosecutors to meet and confer with the defense specifically to try to avoid adverse immigration consequences of a plea, conviction, or sentence. If you came into this country illegally and you're still committing crimes, why are you looking as a state legislature to still keep those people in your state? Who is more important to you? The criminal illegal alien who is a reoffender, or the American taxpayer that is paying your salary with their taxes every 2 weeks? The American citizen is the inconvenience here, not the illegal immigrant who is not contributing and is breaking laws and persecuting citizens in the state. No, he's the golden calf. He needs to make sure he gets held up more. You American, down in the corner, down in the corner. Right? They're looking at creating a rebutable presumption of a violation if the defendant shows that they propose an alternative plea and sentence, even a more serious offense. But that would avoid immigration issues, and the prosecutor rejected it. So now what they're doing is they're forcing the judges to not listen to what the prosecution wants also. So they're looking to give the judges the carte blanche to, like, oh no, you're a legal immigrant? No. You're supposed to get 5 years? No, you're going to get 2 days. Right? They're creating an imbalance of the system on purpose. Out of many, one. Out of many, one. One what? One nation, where we're all treated equally and fairly under the law, regardless of our background, our creed, our race? Or one nation where we slap the shit out of people that are white and hold up everyone else that's non-white? Because that's where this is going. And thank goodness the courts, at least at the second level, appellate level, and Supreme Court, they seem to be balanced and holding the line a little bit. But what happens in another 10, 15 years? When the judges at the appellate circuit now start to retire, and the radical wave of the Obama-Biden regime start getting moved up. Our judiciary in the federal level is a major problem, and things need to start happening to remove woke judges from the bench. They need to get impeached, because you cannot have a judiciary that is based off of radical, extreme ideology instead of constitutional principles. And that's what we need to keep this balance of our country within the rails. And that Constitution gets eroded more and more and more every time a radical leftist judge gets appointed to the bench. Happened in my case. You had a magistrate judge, Scott Valhalic, who didn't know shit. Then you had Regina Rodriguez, a a daughter of immigrants to this country that became a federal judge, right in the paperwork that I needed to affirm the systemic oppression and the experience of what people of color go through. Okay, these are the mindsets of what's sitting on the federal bench. These judges are determining rules on determining outcomes on civil rights, viewpoint discrimination, things that are extremely important here in America. But if they are biased and if they are tainted, they are going to run roughshod all throughout the judiciary, and the judiciary is the only way that Americans can rectify the wrongs in society. And if you do not have an impartial judiciary, if you don't have a judiciary that's just calling balls and strikes, but you have a judiciary that's putting its thumb on the scale to make sure their ideology wins in the courtroom, even though it's wrong and illegal, we're gonna lose this country. So once again, there needs to be impeachment proceedings on any leftist judge that is proven to be anti-constitution. You could have different views, but once you start putting written opinions out there that show your disdain for America, that's an impeachable offense if you're a judge, because you cannot remain impartial if you are putting your personal feelings into your opinions. Those opinions need to be written according to law. And if you don't look any further, look at the retard DEI hire on the Supreme Court. She gets smacked down every time she has a dissent. She takes dissent on by herself because she is so warped. We cannot have more people like that on the federal bench. The federal bench is where we need to concentrate our efforts into regaining control over the judiciary, to making sure we have a constitution still in line. Because the judges are supposed to respect the Constitution. But these woke judges don't respect the Constitution because they believe in their mind the Constitution is systemically oppressive and racist, and they know better than what the Constitution does. That's what goes on in our court system, and that's what needs to change. Otherwise, if we don't fix the court system, we're done. And it's not spoken about enough on the right. Speak about the culture war, people talk about Trump. A universal message from the right should be fix the judiciary. Jim Jordan, you're in charge of the judicial board on the government and in the legislature. Judicial oversight, there we go, Judicial Oversight Committee. Start doing some damn work. What are you doing to get radical left judges off the bench? Nothing. Things need to get done in order to reestablish the rule of law in America. And purging the judiciary is one of that. But yeah, out of many, one. E pluribus unum. E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's what it means. Not different standards in the judicial system, not how different governments are going to treat its citizens based on race or sex. None of that. All that needs to go away. But yet the left tells you reimagine America, and this is what they want to reimagine America as. They want to reimagine America as a socialist Marxist society where white males are put down at the bottom and everyone else runs roughshod over them, while the white male continuously pays taxes and entitlements to those that hate this country and want to change this country. But yet no one says what they want to change this country into. They say, oh, we could do better, we could do better, we could do better. Haven't seen it. Have not seen it. Who is one of these days, patience will run out and things are going to pop off for reals. And then there goes Jeff, sooner than later, please. Yeah, I know, we feel it, we see it, we know it, we smell it, we taste it, we live it. And the thing is, we have logic and reason. And that's the other thing too, right? Like thinking back on out of many one, right? We're drawing on from Latin, ancient Greek, ancient Roman times, the birth of reason, the birth of logic, right? Those are great examples of ancient times where man and mind came together to create a society and a civilization that changed the world. Think about how the ancient Greeks changed the world. Think about how the Greeks stopped the advancement of the Persians into Europe. Another fun fact there. Can you imagine if the Persians conquered all of Europe before Christ? what that would have looked like. How about the French stopping the Muslim advancement in 730 in France, 732, I believe. Imagine what would have happened if the Muslims ran roughshod through Europe in the 700s and 800s, conquering Europe through the Middle Ages. Would we be here today? No. Would I be speaking Islam? Probably. Maybe not. I probably wouldn't even be born. But yeah, just think about all these things that have happened in history to allow us to get where we are today. And now what do we do with that? And how do we seize the moment to elevate this country further? We don't want to destroy it. We want to elevate it and make it better and take it further. The left is the one that wants to destroy it. They want to replace everything. They want to replace school. They want to replace everything with government. They want to replace religion, right? They had no problem shutting down churches and making sure everyone got vaxxed in 2020, all at the same time, didn't give a shit how many of illegal immigrants came across that border without being vaccinated or having shots or any vax card. They didn't give a shit. But they made sure our churches were closed. They made sure you were vaccinated or you lost your job. Out of many, one. We need to get the retards out of this country. We need to purge this country of this woke mind virus and reestablish the greatness of America. Nothing can stop this country if we ever get back on the same page. Hopefully we do. Hopefully we do. And with that, I'm going to pray us out. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to sit in the chair today and have my therapy session with our listeners. Hopefully they took something from this today as well. Dear Lord, watch over Joe the next couple of days as he's out of state, handling things he needs to take care of. Make sure his travels are safe. Dear Lord, please touch our leaders. Bring some good, loving patience. And touch our citizenry as well. Please wake people up to your loving touch, God. Bring them back to reality and the warmth and love of you. And let's tone down the rhetoric a little bit, Lord. Let's find a way to tone it down on our side too, to kind of reestablish a balance here in America that we can move forward with and hope, and that we're not always at a fevered pitch against each other. We need to start healing and working together to make this country work for everyone, Lord. And Grandma, Grandpa, Dad, nice to thank you for being here today. Thank you for being with me always. Love and miss you guys every day. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be around tomorrow. Class dismissed.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out. It's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong.